We have a Coppola questions before we move on.
A couple of questions. I kind of just stopped writing them at a certain point.
Yeah, me too.
So hopefully you guys can fill in a little bit. But why would John Wilkes Booth get the diary puzzle deciphered 20 minutes before killing the president, other than convenience for the events of this movie?
That's it. That's all that would
He had to leave town, and he figured he'd have time to swing by after shooting the president in the head.
Just swing by real quick to pick up his book. Yeah, that's pretty stupid. That's pretty lazy writing on their part, because you think he'd want to be able to go right from the theater to getting the hell out of Dodge, and assumably going right
Find
to
Dr.
where
Mudd.
Yeah. Going right to where the treasure is, instead of having to go back as the most wanted man in city to go get his book and then flee. I don't know.
So,
or
like,
was he
how
having
was
it
he gonna
translated
figure it
for
out?
the Klan guy?
Yeah.
And then he never meant to go back for it.
How would John Wilkes Booth make it across the fucking ocean after killing the president to go get to find the first clue, the La Boule thing on the statue that didn't exist at the time.
It didn't exist for another 20 years. or
And
at
then
least.
go to the fucking desk in Buckingham Palace and get that piece, and then go to the Oval Office in the White House.
Why did John Wilkes Booth have this cipher in the first place? I can't remember.
They don't say it.
They don't really say. Yeah.
It was just, I guess you're supposed to assume that
He got
conspiracy to
information.
kill Abraham Lincoln was a lot bigger than just killing him.
Right. Well, I think they
about-
mentioned like Queen Victoria was in on it.
Queen
So
Victoria was
maybe
in on
she
it,
had
yeah.
been
Help
guiding them toward it. Why the hell
Yeah.
would she know about it?
Why does Cage look so different in this movie? Like, he looks weird in this movie, right?
It
Like,
does.
this is
I
like
kept-
his phase of like looking like somebody. I kept thinking this through the movie. Like somebody needed to pull him aside and say, "Bro, we got to cut your hair fucking different. You got to dress different. Like you stand up straight, dude." Like he was just had this like phase of movies where he looked like he was going crazy.
Yeah.
He was
because of
like
the hair.
super gaunt too, like
Mhm.
very skinny.
Yeah, it looked
which
like the
was-
suits didn't fit him right. Like they seemed too
Mhm.
big and baggy, and he had kind of the longer hair.
Mm-hmm.
It's really weird.
Yeah,
It really made me
Bad
feel
Lieutenant
like
looked like
Yeah, Bad
looked like
Lieutenant.
which
Ghost
came out
Rider,
after
Speed
this, but I was like,
Stolen.
did this film around the same
Stolen.
time, or was he like it made me wonder, was he just carrying that character over into Bad Lieutenant, or Bad Lieutenant's character from, but I guess this was filmed before Bad Lieutenant.
yeah.
So he just sort of kept up that look to play Terrence McDonough in Bad Lieutenant. But yeah.
Madonna.
Yeah, I don't know. It just
yeah.
looks weird. I was wondering, like, if he had a hairpiece of some sort in this, because he's obviously had plugs now. So I think he was going pretty bald. If you watch like his late '90s stuff, he was going.
Mhm.
It was pretty thin. So maybe this was like the beginning of his hair plugs or a hairpiece of some sort, and he just looks weird.
Could explain why he had to grow why he grew his hair out for so long.
That's true. Maybe, yeah. He just grew it longer so that it would cover up the bald patch.
Yeah.
I don't know. He just looks strange in this movie.
Yeah.
Different from the character in the first movie for some reason.
Different, yeah.
His hair is way different, which we saw the same thing happen in Ghost Rider and Ghost Rider 2, where it's
Yeah.
like his hair is completely
Yes.
Yeah.
different.
It looks like he has a bird on his head in Ghost Rider 2.
Yeah. So in regards to that diary page, like nobody thought to like turn the page over. And all the time, the Wilkinson family was never like, what's on the back page? Like maybe it's been lost, the ink's been lost to time, but like it's just weird. So the fat guy who was a part of the Knights of the Confederacy took that page, held on to it, and then gave it to General Pike. And then General Pike kept it in the family, which ended up being Wilkinson's family. And nobody looked at the back of that ink that was written on the back with the code for all of this time. And it was able to fade over 140 years to the point where nobody knew what was on it anymore. Nobody wrote those letters down somewhere else.
No.
Nope.
No. Okay. How did Ben and Riley know Ben would be taken to a holding cell within Buckingham Palace rather than to, like, prison or
Yeah,
You
they
know.
were like, we got to get you in that office with the desk or whatever. But like, how would they know? Yeah, you're right. Getting arrested at Buckingham Palace would get them any closer to getting to the desk in the Queen's private quarters in Buckingham Palace.
I'm
Yeah.
guessing because they had the digital blueprints, they saw that they had holding cells, so they surmised that they would take them down
maybe.
there and hold them there, and that there's that service elevator near it, which is right upstairs.
And they can Mission Impossible their way from there.
On that tick though, then like, okay, so why isn't it more closely guarded? If they're going to be there, if they did something egregious enough to be put into a holding cell at Buckingham Palace, would they not have cameras on this cell or a guard watching it?
They have cameras everywhere. in
Yeah,
England,
they would
dude.
have cameras everywhere. That whole country is littered with cameras.
Yeah.
You go out
Yes.
to the countryside and there's fucking cameras.
Yeah.
But the movie's lazy, so they have to.
I mean,
just,
I guess that, they wouldn't be treating them like violent criminals because they were just having an altercation, but it still would
Sure.
be under some form of guard and surveillance.
Yes.
Yeah,
In Buckingham
absolutely.
Palace.
Yeah. Of all places that have cameras, that's the one place you would expect it.
Yes. Everywhere.
Everywhere.
I think
Even
there's
in the
one on the
toilets.
fucking fountain outside. So he just swam into the birthday party for the president of the United States.
I mean, to be fair, diving
No.
underneath and coming up, that is a plausible way to get there.
That is a plausible way of getting there, but something that the fucking Secret Service would have thought about. If there's assassination attempts all the time, so
Well, yeah, they would have people
would have had that
watching.
whole area
They would have had
cordoned
people
off.
watching the.
Yeah, they watched Thunderball.
They would have had people watching the shoreline.
there would have been no boats allowed anywhere near that party.
Which there weren't because they
There
had the
weren't,
cops out
but
there.
they still managed to get in there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the fact
but
that
it was a
told you to
follow up
leave.
from the first movie where apparently Ben is a scuba diving expert.
Yes.
Yeah,
For
because
some
he uses
reason
one
it's
of the
never
most
explained.
complex systems he could to dive, a closed circuit scuba setup.
Yeah, he's a former Navy SEAL or something.
Yeah. That one is very implausible that like he would be able to get into the fucking. We have to make the movie happen. That's really the end. The answer to every one of these questions is just there's no way that these things could happen. There's no way you could sneak into the Oval Office. There's no way that you could sneak into the Queen's private living area.
It's like they just have to throw heist stuff in there every once in a while to keep you interested. Because they show the president already knows who Ben Gates is, so he could have just had an invitation to the birthday
exactly.
party and gone that way. And then
he's a
after the Civil War
high-profile-
thing, like he wouldn't. He
yeah,
wouldn't
but
have
like
gotten
the president doesn't care, so it's obviously
Just because your great granddaddy helped assassinate a president doesn't mean you're gonna.
Yeah, that's true. That's a weird thing with all of these movies that it's like the bloodline. Everybody
Yeah.
just does everything that the previous generation
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, they're all treasure hunters.
The final question that I felt like jotting down. Wouldn't Wilkinson's partners want in on the action? Like the goons that he had, like after their boss is killed, wouldn't they come after Ben or something?
I'm
Just
assuming they
just
got
fucked off
arrested.
and left. Oh, okay, maybe.
I'm assuming that they got picked up.
Okay.
They weren't the
That's
smartest,
plausible.
so they probably heard all the sirens and they're
yeah.
like, "Can't be for us."
And maybe Wilkinson was just paying him but didn't tell him what the whole job was or what they were
Yeah.
doing. So maybe they didn't realize there was a giant treasure at stake.
There's more to the map. Other questions?
I have a few. Why didn't Wilkinson just like ask Ben Gates to help him find the treasure at the start? Because
Yeah,
it feels like Ben Gates would have just helped him, and they could have
Probably,
shared
yeah.
credit. I mean,
yeah.
I guess they established that he wants sole credit to clear his own family's name, but like, why smearing the Gates family name is why? Why does he think that's actually going to work and motivate the Gates enough to help him out? Because it really shouldn't. Who cares?
Yeah.
I think, but to that point, I think they in the first movie they really established the fact that the Gates family has been trying to turn their name from a laughing joke in that arena into like okay, these people actually know what they're talking about. Because they even kind of touch base on that in the first movie. You know, like everybody thinks the gates are a joke. These just treasure hunters who never find treasure, and then finding that treasure at the end kind of changes all that. So I think they have established that the family name and its significance in history is important to them.
I suppose I also would have been copying the first one a little bit too much if Wilkinson had been somebody working with.
Yeah,
Ben
true. I guess that's
find
true.
it,
Yeah,
which is exactly what Ian Howe was doing in the first one. And then he's a mercenary who double crosses him.
Yeah, true.
It's a very elaborate thing where everything has to fall into place for this to all come together.
Yeah. I just thought it's a really flaky premise for the adventure hook for this.
Yeah, the treasure part is kind of an afterthought, really.
Right.
And then it just turns into the whole plot of the movie. And somehow relates to Thomas Gate. Like, even at the end, I was kind of like, how would it clear his name?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it still has his name in the ledger, and that was the
in fact, if anything, it shows that he did know about the treasure because he was part of this plot to try and find it.
Yeah.
Which means he was trying to help the Confederacy, for as far as they know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of the things he says right on. Like, oh, if we find the city, it'll clear his name. Like, what? No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't at all.
It wouldn't. Yeah,
because it proves that he was just deciphering the code for them. But
it's the mastermind.
Like, it might clear your present name again by giving you some more credence by finding another lost treasure, I guess. But it wouldn't do anything for whatever his name was, Jonathan Gates or what was
Thomas
Gates.
Yeah, but they needed Wilkinson to say, "Oh yeah, no, I falsified that document to make it look like he was a co-conspirator."
Yeah,
but he's dead. So,
but the other one is that like Ben Gates cares so much about his own name, but like he's willing to risk kidnapping the president to get it, which could just sully his actual name.
Yeah, I mean, he did steal the Declaration of Independence, so
and nothing happened to him after that.
Yeah, I guess that's true. He's friends with the FBI guy, so that means he gets
Sandusky.
away with whatever. Yeah.
Sandusky.
Happened to Tiger Beat.
I'm so mad I missed that joke. I can't believe I did it. I can't believe that went over my head. Missed opportunities.
So my other one is, if the president was going to exonerate him anyway, why didn't he just call off the search the night before?
Yes, exactly.
Instead of just allowing this manhunt to continue, he could have just been like, "Oh, it was a misunderstanding. We just, he accidentally hit something and then we got trapped in here and now we're free and now Gates has got to go." Like, what?
Yeah.
They just set it up so that the movie can keep happening, but it's so stupid.
Makes me wonder, like, how long were they actually hunting him? Because he couldn't have flown to South Dakota, so they had to have driven. So that would have taken at least a couple days, even if they traded off.
Yeah. Maybe he took a train. Security on Amtrak sucks.
If I've learned anything from taking trains a lot lately, there's no security protocol. That is 100% feasible. They don't check your ID.
True.
They barely check your fucking ticket.
Yep. You probably just walk on the train at any point. And then,
just leave a phone up in the top. And
so that was my big one. Like, the president is obviously sympathetic to him, even in that exact scene where he kidnaps him. They could have just played it all off like, oh, it was a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
I guess I shouldn't have had my security detail dismissed. Also, the president doesn't get to decide when the Secret Service follows him around. Like, they don't work for him, theoretically.
Yes. Just like guarding Tess.
Yeah. They call the shots. So,
well,
yeah.
I mean, sometimes you just have to grab the wheel with your baby hands and steer the car yourself.
Yeah. Guess that's true. The vice president could choose not to go with them for one reason or another.
Yeah. Well, because nobody cares
about
the vice president.
What else we got? What was the deal with the hummingbird clue? That
I don't know.
Emily gives to Patrick, and somehow that they figure out that exactly means the same thing as giving him wrong information.
Yeah,
or right information.
I wondered about that right away because it was like, because he's like, "Oh, the hummingbird was a good clue," and I'm like, "Okay, so we know for sure that at least I think it was like the Incans knew about hummingbirds for sure because there's those."
The Nazca lines,
things that are up on the Nazca lines, of a hummingbird. I'm pretty sure they're in carvings and stuff, but like, I don't know what that was. Maybe it was something that they actually researched, I hummingbird over the moon just spoke.
You find where the moon touches the earth, and then the hummingbird or something, and that told them exactly what they needed to know for some reason.
Yeah, because the real clue was not much different from that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I just assumed it has something to do with their history, his history with his mom, and there's probably a scene that got cut out where
maybe they saw a hummingbird when they went to Mount Rushmore when he was a kid or something, and there was a family trip and some joke about it.
And like I don't understand why these movies are so goddamn long in the first place. Both of these movies, they just added so many things.
Yeah, I know.
But like we know from the first movie that there were tons of things that were cut out. So maybe it was just something that was cut out.
Yep.
They decided not to make it 3 hours long, but
they realized it didn't
long.
make it any more or less cryptic than the rest of the random bullshit that they throw in. So it didn't matter.
I guess, yeah.
I'd say I mentioned it before, but how much do you think that much gold would destabilize the world economy if it was suddenly found?
It would become something that wasn't even like a value at that point.
Yeah, it would devalue gold because it's not in that mass amount. It's not rare anymore. And would devalue it. And so I don't know how much of the world economy is still based off of gold. Because our currency,
I don't think it is as much anymore, but back then it still
back
was.
Then, I can't remember when the U.S. transitioned away from being gold.
But still, even if it's on a private, like the reason Wilkinson wants it because he wants the treasure originally, other than to clear his family name later. But it's like you can't do anything with that much gold because if you inject that much gold into the market, it devalues all of it. So it's the reverse Goldfinger approach where he wanted to irradiate all the gold to make the rest of the gold more valuable because it make the other stuff useless. Yeah. If you find a bunch of gold, it's going to make all the gold less expensive.
Yeah.
As we said in Stolen, like the total amount of gold ever found is like the size of like an Olympic size swimming pool. But not like
a city of it.
Not a city
of it.
Even if those were just gold coated bricks, that's still a shitload of gold.
A lot of gold. Yeah.
I guess the good news is cost of electronics would go down because now you have all this gold. And so cost of build them would be a lot less.
And then my last one is kind of silly, but do you think when they were excavating the city, they found Wilkinson's corpse somewhere washed up?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
In one of those chambers.
Yeah.
Still screaming in that little hole.
The only thing I have that we haven't asked yet is what the fuck was... Okay. They're like, we have to close the door after we open it, otherwise we're going to drown. Mm-hmm. But then they would have just been flushed out of the fucking thing into where like the opening, the outside.
Yeah, because they're implying that the other side of the door is dead end.
Yeah,
at that point, and they're just going to get trapped there.
So what the fuck was the point of that whole like? It wasn't. That's not how that worked. So why the fuck did you really need to close it? And if it was draining out, it wouldn't fill to the fucking brim.
Yeah,
yeah,
it would have washed them out.
Yeah, it would have washed them out, and it wasn't filling to the brim when the door was stuck on Nick Cage. So at that point, don't they just be like, oh, hey, wait, fuck, I guess we don't need to have the door closed. We can prop it open so we can all get out.
Yeah, well, I mean, they say that if they propped it open, then all the water would have just kept rushing out and they would have been sent out. But then they would have like seen that there was light out.
Yeah.
Like on the other side of the door.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been on a water slide. You get pushed out into the big pool at the end. It would have been exactly the same.
That's how it works, man.
Yeah, that was stupid. It's like, oh, once the door's closed, oh, hey, look, light. Oh, I guess we could have just all fucking been swept out into wherever the fuck this takes us. We had to
kill Wilkinson.
Yeah, we just got to kill the bad
guy. Had to give
Ed
Harris one more drowning scene. It's just to snap his brain.